Now, I've said this once and I'll say it again, 2025 is going to be a very problematic year for Bob Iger, the Disney executives, the board of directors, and the entirety of the Walt Disney Company, given that they have a lot of divisions over at the company going through various cost-cutting measures right now, all because of Bob Iger. We also have a new DEI manager that they are actually looking for that's going to have a pay of $200,000 plus a year, which is insane, and there's a lot of things going on with Snow White 2025 in particular when it comes to actress Gal Gadot. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You could also follow me at Mike01. I thank you all so very much for the great and kind support. So here we are already. It is late August. We're in the last couple of days of this month. Time just flies by. We are breezing through 2024. And as we get closer to next year, it's going to be quite interesting to see what is going to unfold when it comes to Bob Iger. Now, we all know that he plans to step down by 2026. We talked about this just yesterday and many times before that. But focusing on what's been going on with the Snow White drama, well, it is beginning to worsen as it seems, because a lot of this has to do with the damage control going into this movie. All of the revisions going on with this film. Any last minute changes that are being applied to this production are creating a lot of scenarios behind the scenes at the Walt Disney Company where they are all in a phase of panic right now. They don't know what to do. Now, what's interesting about this moving onwards has a lot more to do with the ongoing changes going on right now and why it's really creating a ruckus, especially for actress Gal Gadot, and why she has a growing issue with Bob Iger and the Disney executives. Let's get into this. Now, with Bob Iger and the Disney executives already going into complete panic mode over Snow White 25 and the ongoing drama related to the film, one significant development going on right now has more to do with Gal and her ongoing drama against the Disney executives after they made a recent last-minute decision for Snow White. Already, Gal had multiple loud arguments with the Disney heads, including writer Greta Gerwig, after Gerwig was the one that convinced and influenced the Disney heads to delete and cut the entire ending for Snow White just recently after their 5th test screening was a complete failure, an abysmal failure. Now, this ending scene was best described as Gal's best acting. However, the scene was tainted due to the fact that Zegler's bad acting takes were shoehorned into the scene. It turns out that the scene involved a very extensive fight scene between both the Evil Queen and Snow White with the help of the 7 dwarfs and newcomer Jonathan, the so-called prince in the story that's not really a prince. Now, test screeners best described the scene as a deal breaker for the film, and that Disney saw this after conversations with Greta Gerwig that it would create massive walkouts at last minute. However, much of the blame had to do with Rachel Zegler's subpar acting and choreography instead of Gal. Shockingly, like I said before, this scene was described to be Gal's best acting in the entire film via the test screeners, and already Gal is blasting the Disney executives for forcing director Mark Webb and the editors of the film to erase the scene completely, and how now Gal is being forced essentially to reshoot the entire scene in a different way. However, the scene is described to be done in a brand new fashion that will not feature a lengthy fight this time. It's unclear if Zegler will even be in the ending scene at this moment. However, Gal is already giving Disney a heads up and a warning that if they do go through with this of changing the overall nature of the scene, that she is also willing to back out of some of the singing performances for the marketing campaign of Snow White. In addition to all of that, Zegler was also blaming Gal for demanding too many takes for that scene in particular initially to be done perfectly, resulting in Zegler's performance to come across as exhausted as she claims. It turns out that Zegler did have some influence on the decision, as it turns out, by Disney to cut the entire scene, as now Greta Gerwig is going to work ASAP to get a new scene written ahead of planned reshoots to redo the entire thing for the film, which may or may not delay the movie from March until June of next year. Now, guys, let me just say one thing about this now. Look, the fact that you have somebody like Greta Gerwig, who, by the way, is completely driven by an ideology, it's not a big shocker why Disney would hire somebody like her to really take on the story of Snow White. And this is exactly why you have somebody like Rachel Zegler at the forefront of the cast. Now, here's the other problem, is that not only do you have a lot of drama, a lot of revisions being applied to this movie, but it's also bothering Gal Gadot deeply, personally, even as an actress, on a business level. She really is very much at a point where she's had it with Disney. And I would not be too surprised if Gal will never want to work with the Walt Disney Company again after Snow White 2025. It would not be a big shocker to me, looking at this in isolation. But interestingly enough, there's a lot of other things going on here with the production of this movie. We know that there were last-minute budgeting cutbacks with the Seven Dwarfs, with CGI animators. I think that's why they appear to be very much low-grade. And what I mean by low-grade is that the graphics of the Seven Dwarfs look very wonky. They look very odd, almost outdated, something that you would expect to see in the 2000s or something like that. But overall, moving onwards, the risk, however, of a delay was brought up by the board of directors and Bob Iger, and that the reshoots would need to be done, get this, and finished by this December to get the film out on time, since marketing will begin extensively in January until March. To make matters worse for Gal, however, after she already had serious heated arguments with those like Bob Iger and the rest of Disney, they are also refusing to ever reveal the footage of this ending that was shot and deleted for Snow White, either on social media or on the Blu-ray version of the film in the future, to save themselves from additional backlash from the release of the film afterwards. Now, look, we've had multiple moments like this by Disney where they refuse to throw out deleted scenes, to kind of withdraw from any additional backlash that they don't basically want to deal with. What's interesting about this, and I've said this before, is that this is basically the Acolyte 2.0 in movie form. Snow White is literally the Acolyte scenario. It has a backlash that we have never seen before. Previously it was in Star Wars, now it's in the Disney live-action remakes. And this really is having a big impact, believe it or not, on the Walt Disney Company. You have a lot of families that are really not allowing their family to see Snow White as a film after the things that Rachel Zegler said, after what they learned about what Bob Iger said about their overall view of their ideology and how important it really is above proper storytelling. There's a lot of people, moving away from Disney in droves. The more and more that they shoehorn their ideology into this, it's becoming more clear, and abundantly clear, I must add, that the general public wants nothing to do with anything that is driven by a message. And people are pretty much waking up to this every single day now. Ever since Elon Musk called out Bob Iger, called out Disney, that really set off a wave of people to really wake up and realize what's going on here with the Walt Disney Company. But overall, I would love to hear what everyone has to say about Snow White 25, the ongoing drama, what the Walt Disney Company will look like next year. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.